Back in 1999, my sister and I took a trip to Alaska. We flew in, rented a car, and drove about 1,500 miles in a big circle around Alaska. We also went to the Arctic Circle. We camped in Denali National Park, where we saw no less than 38 bears. We saw fox, moose, salmon, sea otters, sea lions, and tons of birds. I put the story in art, and I hope you will enjoy it. Alaska is the last frontier. If you ever get an opportunity to visit, you should. You will love it. There's so much to see. We flew from the Atlanta airport. A friend drove us, and along the way, we saw a shooting star, a good omen for our upcoming trip. We flew Northwest Airlines a 3-hour trip to Minneapolis, where we had a 2-hour layover, and then we switched to a plane that was a 5-hour flight over the Northwest Territory going to Alaska. I videoed through the window of all the mountains below. Unfortunately, I got sick when we landed. My sister was so embarrassed, and the woman on the other side of her was too. The pile of luggage we brought with us was enough to stay for 2 years, according to the taxi driver. We had camping gear with us, so we didn't feel like we overpacked. From the airport to the rental car pickup, we saw beautiful vistas. There was just so much to see the minute our foot hit the ground. The little car they gave us was small, and the pile of luggage we had was bigger than the car. It was a Suzuki Swift. Turned out to be a great car. We headed for Denali that night, where we were going to stay in a small lodge outside of the park entrance. Every mountain we saw, we felt, that must be McKinley. No, it's that one. No, I told you it's that one. Anyway, the next morning we boarded the camper bus that would take us the 86 miles back to Wonder Lake, where we planned to camp that night. We saw the 38 bears on this trip. We got to the park, and there were rumors of bear in the area. We went ahead and cooked on our little stove anyway. We did see huge mosquitoes. The park ranger gave us a nice little tour of the area and gave us a narration of the history. And she also showed us some bear scat that she had in a jar, so that she said you could tell the difference between that and a human. Yuck. On the way out, we did get a view of McKinley. The top was fogged in. A mother fox with 3 kits ran alongside the bus looking for a handout. We also saw other animals that day. We headed for Fairbanks, Alaska, where we would spend the night before heading on to the Arctic Circle Highway. We stayed in the Northwest cabins, a very rustic cabin with only a bare light bulb hanging down. There was no bathroom. There was an outhouse type thing outside. And that same night, we went into town and had fine dining in one of the country's top 500 restaurants called the Pump House Restaurant. We had a great meal, and we shared a glass of wine. The next day, we headed out to the Pipeline Highway for the Arctic Circle. We stopped at the Yukon River truck stop, where Jeremy, a guy we are certain is an axe murderer, filled our car with 8 gallons of gas. We did camp in the Arctic Circle. The sun never did go down that night. We swatted mosquitoes way past midnight while we wrote entries in our journals. Next day, we headed for Paxson, a beautiful drive along a mountainous area. Photo ops everywhere, just gorgeous. And that night, we stayed in another cabin, only this time it had all the luxury of home, including television and a hot bath. Next day, we drove through the glacier field along the Richardson Highway. It was beautiful. The blue ice was just gorgeous. We took pictures, and video. And then we headed for Palmer. At Palmer, we stayed in the Pollins bed and breakfast. On that little sign by the door, it says, "No puffin', please." She kept the place so clean. It was beautiful. You should check it out if you ever go there. Next morning, we got up and took the little car in for a bath. And we met 2 German women doing the same thing to their rental car. And then we headed for Seward, a seaside village where we had arranged to have a wildlife viewing cruise. On the way, we saw salmon swimming upstream and mountain goats. On the wildlife cruise, my sister got sick. Seemed like we were taking turns. The water was a little choppy. But we saw all kinds of animals. We saw puffins, sea lions, sea otters, eagles, fish, I love watching those otters crack those clams on their belly with rocks. It was cool. And then that night we stayed in the Teddy Bear Inn, which was decorated with teddy bears. We both slept like rocks after such a long day. So the next day we headed out to the airport for our flight back to the lower 48. This time neither one of us got sick. We had an uneventful flight home. It was kind of sad to leave Alaska behind. If you ever get a chance to go visit the land of the midnight sun, I suggest you do so. Enjoy.